Welcome to the Healing Sexual Trauma Summit. I am Marcela, your host, and with me today I have Jonita D'souza. Did I say your name right?
Yes.
Oh, good. Welcome, Jonita.
Oh, Marcy, what a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So glad to have you. Okay, before I tell you all the cool things about Jonita, or at least some of them, I'm sure there are many, many more, we'll just take a moment to get present in our bodies. So feel free to close your eyes or leave them open, whatever works for you. And just begin to notice that we have a body. And allow yourself to be as much in your body as feels right. Ground ourselves and to settle in. Sometimes it helps to bring awareness into your feet. And just feel whatever your feet are touching. Allow the pelvis to be heavy. And then you can just notice what's happening with the breath. And in your body in general. If there's any parts of the body or places in the body that are talking to you right now, you can send your breath there. And as we listen to Jonita today, the invitation is to keep paying attention to whatever is happening in your body. Take a break if you need to, if you start to feel overwhelmed, or if you just need a break for any reason, come back when you're ready. And I invite you to come back. If your eyes are closed, you can slowly open them. Jonita and I are here with you. Okay, a little bit about Jonita. Jonita was born in India, settled in England. Jonita D'souza is a feminine lifestylist, an author and creatress of Exploring Femininity Ltd, assisting modern-day busy women who struggle with burnout, overwhelm, and body love to reconnect with their feminine and sensual energy using the ancient Taoist and Tantric arts so that they can create a lifestyle that is fulfilling, nurturing, and pleasurable. Jonita is also a certified life coach, NLP Practitioner, Master Hypnotherapist, and combines the teachings of Indian feminine mysticism and shamanism in her work, facilitating monthly moon circles, online workshops, and sacred feminine retreats. So that's a little bit that I have to share about Jonita. Jonita, is there anything more you would like us to know about you? Like, how did you get here?
Yeah, thank you for this beautiful introduction and grounding us in our bodies first. And for me, it is a moment to reflect back on my journey as you were reading about how did I get there. It's been a decade of work of getting here. And what I want to share is that none of this was planned, like for many of us. None of this was planned at all. I grew up in India in a very small town. It's an island, in fact, that is not even in the mainland India. So it's like somewhere in the middle of the ocean, not even visible on the map. So I come from a very small place, and throughout my life, I wanted to be this modern Western woman because all I saw on TV was so intriguing. I could see all those MTV music and Hollywood movies and Titanic and all of that as a growing girl, and I thought that Western women had freedom, had choice, which me as an Indian teenager did not have at that time. At least that's what I assumed. So this inquiry of my life became to become an independent woman living in the West. And I got to London through my job, through a series of consequences, and realizing that here I am, and it's not how it looks like on TV. And it was a moment, it was exactly 2007, where things just shifted for me. My father died. I had a severe case of psoriasis in my body. I was going through depression and all of that. I was in a toxic, abusive relationship as well. So all of that came together and hit me so hard. I was in London and I was embarrassed to go back to India. And I realized it's not about being in the West or in the East. Women face similar dilemma, confusion about their being wherever they are. And that began my journey. And here I am.
10 years later. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, amazing. Okay. Another question that I like to ask everyone that I interview is, what made you want to be part of the Healing Sexual Trauma Summit?
Well, we are witnessing a revolution where women are feeling finally comfortable to speak up about their trauma, first of all, and then about their sexuality. And about the immense power that this energy, sexual energy, has for us, specifically as women. And which is why I am constantly choosing to be vocal about it. I've been practicing and learning and teaching to break this taboo of shame, embarrassment, and repression of our sexuality that has disempowered us from womanhood. So we cannot talk about femininity or spirituality if we do not bring in sexuality as the major component. And summits and platforms like this are another great opportunity to collectively come together and create further ripples. So I'm excited, and I thank you for choosing this topic as well.
Great. Thank you so much. And for listeners, you may occasionally notice the sound of rain. Jonita is in the middle of a monsoon right now. So just occasionally we might just hear a little bit of rain, and maybe that's even appropriate considering the topic that we're addressing here. Let the waters fall, let them cleanse. Yeah, I got chills as I listened to you say that, Jonita. So thank you so much for your passion around all of this. It's really inspiring. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk today about the Holy Grail within and its dark feminine energy. So could you tell us what you mean by the Holy Grail within?
Yeah, so it's an interesting concept that I have been reading in books for quite some time before I started my inquiry about femininity and divine feminine and sacred sexuality and all of that. And I realized that, this Holy Grail, it has been searched by the historians and theologians since centuries. And it is considered as a sacred symbol of a chalice or a cup. And in my studies with the Eastern mysticism and the Mary Magdalene traditions, I realized this profound understanding that the Holy Grail is within us, inside of this woman's body. In the English language, this phrase Holy Grail means something that you want, but it is very hard to achieve. But it's a very sacred, special, like an immortal thing that everyone is chasing, but it's really hard to achieve. And what I feel is that ancient knew this importance, this reverence of the woman's body and the Holy Grail and the chalice within. So for me, when I realized in the teachings and learnings of the feminine mysteries that our pelvis, our womb, our yoni, this is the Holy Grail inside a woman's body. And now it is our responsibility to, uncover the secrets, to to stop searching outside of ourselves and come within and remember, return to her, because there is where the eternal wisdom lies, and this is what has been separated from us since centuries through repression and patriarchy. So for me, that's the Holy Grail, our yoni, which is in Sanskrit the word for vagina and the vulva. It means the sacred portal, the mystical gateway. That's our Holy Grail within.
And so important, in particular, if we're talking about sexual trauma, because that's often the part of the body that is traumatized, which makes it even less accessible to us as part of our inheritance and our innate power.
True.
And our aliveness. And all of those things. And it's interesting as I listened to you, because it was like you went to England in search of something that you were gonna find outside of yourself. And then those things that you mentioned happened, sort of like the initiatory downfall to take you in, down, and in. And here you found, whoa, it was never going to be that.
Yeah, and I didn't have to travel 6,000 miles away from home to, figure this out. In fact, I was kind of like, contemplating when I started discovering more about the divine feminine and the whole thing around femininity. So I came across different teachers, and many of them were teaching a lot of ancient mysticism from the Indian traditions, the Tantric traditions. And I was really shocked that I had to be removed from my roots and go elsewhere to then understand the importance of my roots to come back to that.
Got it. I'm so glad you made your way back.
Yeah, so it was like a whole circle.
Full circle, for sure. Okay, so we're going to talk then a little bit more about the dark feminine. Yeah. So what is that?
Yeah, the dark feminine, it's really interesting. We live in a world of polarity, and we always see things as light and dark, good or bad. And like everything else, everything else alive, we have two sides. And specifically us women, or I would say the conditioning that we have around the dark side is that the dark means evil, or the dark means the shadow side, which is like the bad side of us. When we go further into the feminine mysteries, we come to the realization that dark is not bad. Dark is the source of mystery, and it is our responsibility as women to go into the dark to understand this mystery. So it's not good or bad thing. And for a woman's body, the dark feminine energy is innately present. The yin itself is the dark. Yeah. And if we are women, then we live according to cycles. We are affected by our periods, the menstruation cycle. We are affected by the seasons, the cycle of nature, Mother Earth. We are affected by the cycles of the moon. So each time we go through the beginning of every cycle, we experience darkness. And in those times, so for example, it's the time before we bleed, if we are bleeding. It's the time during the new moon. It's the time during the winters. These are the dark times. So our dark feminine is very active. And what happens is all strange kinds of emotions begin to bubble inside of us. We feel highly sensitive, highly emotional, highly annoyed, highly angry, sad, and all of these emotions. And what happens is that we don't often like feeling all of that, because we've been told that's our dark side, our bad side. But for me, the dark feminine energy is just the unconscious part of the feminine that is wanting to become conscious. because then we'll understand the mystery behind that phenomena. And it's just like in ancient traditions, the dark goddesses were worshipped, not because they were like evil witches or bitches, but because those dark goddesses like Kali, Hecate, Isis, Lilith, Mary Magdalene, they mirrored to us parts of ourselves that we have not yet fully accepted. So for me, the dark feminine energy is this beautiful part of our feminine that is wanting to become present. And it is our responsibility as women that we learn how to commune with this energy, because it will ever be present with us as long as we are alive in this woman's body. And these are also the times where our trauma may be induced or heightened inside of our body. So it's important that we understand the very nature of this feminine cycle that we have. So that's in short the dark feminine energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, total sense. And I'm thinking about even the symbols that are so common in your country of the lingam, and then the opposite energy, which is the yoni. And it's like entering into the vagina, the vulva, the vagina, the womb space is in a very literal way going into a mysterious and dark place.
Yeah, and our mother's womb, the place we come from, is a place of darkness. It's a place of loving darkness. We come from the void, the darkness. Mm-hmm. So it's not a place, it's not an energy to be fearful of anymore. We are taught that we must learn to, get rid of our fears. We must learn to get rid of our shadows, or get rid of our trauma, or get rid of certain emotions that are not serving. And in the art of Taoist Tantric feminine mysteries, you don't get rid of anything, because all of that make you as whole. You discern the learnings from those emotions, that phenomena, that emotion, and you play with it. You learn to accept the entirety of that emotion as it is. That's when you free yourself, because the moment you get rid of one fear, something else kicks in anyways. So, we waste a lot of energy trying to deal with anxiety and deal with fear and deal. Instead, there are specific ways to do that, but the dark feminine energy invites us to create a loving relationship with this aspect of ourselves, so we don't spend energy dealing with them or getting rid of them or correcting them, but we spend the energy learning from them.
I love it. Yeah, it's sort of like the deconstruction of the patriarchy in our bodies and in our minds and in our hearts and our souls, and just, giving ourselves that full spectrum of experiencing ourselves as we truly are. Yeah,
it's true. And women are highly sensitive and highly emotional. We can experience a dark and a wide range of emotions in a very short time. So in Vedas, we have 11 moon centers, which means that our emotions can shift every 2.5 minutes. So that's a lot to be just, trying to figure out everything of ourselves. Like, we can go crazy about ourselves if we start to box ourselves this way. Instead, if we just learn that this is our nature, now how can we start loving our nature and understand our nature?
beautiful. Reminds me of the monsoon behind you. It's like, it's all coming. Just relax and let it be what it is. Okay, so we were going to talk about perhaps ways that women can connect more with their dark feminine.
So what I have learned a lot is that when we go into the work of feminine energy and womb healing, or any trauma related work that is in the body, our dark feminine energy of our sexuality gets triggered really fast. This is at the upfront, because this is something that has been ingrained in our feminine psyche for really long time, since centuries. So There are a lot of different ways to work with the dark feminine energy. Um, One of the simple ways that I like to say is that to look into our relationships, specifically our intimate relationships. They bring up our dark feminine energy right on your face, like right there. There is no running away from that. And we get used to kind of numbing some part of it. Sometimes we run away, we ignore, we get too busy. So all of this does not help. And when we repress the dark feminine energy, it does not go away, but then it becomes the shadow. It becomes this aspect of yourself that you no longer love or like. So one of the ways is to become really clear or understand with your feminine energy in itself and the emotional spectrum of your feminine energy, which is why I like to work with the yoni a lot, with the energetics of the yoni, because we all come from there, and this place of darkness has a lot of revelation for us. There's this Holy Grail within us, has a lot of revelation for us. And because we are so disconnected from our yoni, our sexuality, we experience dark feminine energy in a lot of different areas in our life. For example, I would say our idea of being disengaged from life itself. You know, we are constantly busy, then we are constantly tired, and our life force energy is constantly depleted. So what are we running away from? Yeah, we have sleeping disorders. These are all dark feminine energy related specifically to yoni and trauma around it. So looking into these things, these aspects that, why am I not able to fall asleep? It is not always because of the stress in your head. It's also the stress that we store in our pelvis. So many of us live a very disempowered lifestyle or belief system where we believe that our sexuality is for someone else. So what happens is that we give away the power of our vitality, our life force energy to someone else. And this is a very disempowered way of living. So when we look into very nuances of how are we actually relating in our intimate relationships and then to ourselves, we begin to understand how the dark feminine energy is playing its role in our lives. And I want to also mention about sexual trauma here. There is a lot of us women, we have experienced sexual trauma, and it can not always look like in the form of rape or molestation or some relationship or bad relationship, painful relationship. It can also look like the times where we were in good relationships, but we were not ready for the sex. Yeah, that also creates trauma in our body. Each time we know that it's a no, and we ignore that no because of our loving relationship. That also creates trauma in our body. It's like a self-rejection that sits in our psyche and our womb space. So there are so many nuances, and as I said, that this is a lifetime of experimenting and playing with it.
I like that thing that you said in the end there about, trauma. We often think of trauma with this capital T, like something huge had to have happened, but there can be micro traumas that occur all the time. And I like that you mentioned the not honoring the no. And I think, and I write about this in my book, Naked, and I call it the sacred no, getting in touch with your sacred no before you can get in touch with your sacred yes.
Yeah.
And how I think it's part of what we're talking about here. It's like our indoctrination, our enculturation, our socialization that tells us that, you know, it's fundamentally traumatic, that tells us our body is not our own. And like you said, it's like this experience of pleasure in the body is not for us. It's for our partners, for someone else. So to reclaim that, to get back into the yoni space and to feel progressively more and more aliveness there, it is getting that life force back as well.
Yeah, we consider yoni as a space for pleasure only, and our sexual energy we have kind of termed, or I would say we've kind of we are only using it as a kind of like an energy prostitution, I like to say. That I'm just going to give this to you and then you give this back to me, and this it's not for us. We have not fully owned it. And I understand where we come from, because we have been taught to separate sexuality from our spiritual aspect, from our personal development, from our normal lifestyle in general. The Taoist lineage is very vocal about sexuality and sexual energy being the most important aspect to connect with higher forms of consciousness. So when we work with our sexual energy, the modality is just so, what would I say? It's so holistic. When we think about Tantra in the West, it's a lot concentrated only about sexuality and sacred sexuality. This is just literally 30% of Tantra. Tantra is not only sacred sexuality. When you really go to the roots and learn the classical Tantra, it's about connecting your sexuality to your higher chakras, because only then you get access to this ultimate flow of life force energy in you. So it's not just about sexual pleasure and orgasms and that's it. Your yoni has its own mechanism of creating vitality, of creating, of controlling and vitalizing your hormones. So you don't have to be on depleted hormones. Your yoni just does it by default. That's the purpose. And interestingly, I'm gonna get a little bit graphic here, so if you don't mind.
Go for
it. So interestingly, like if you consider this as the entrance of the yoni, and it has the gateway, those places inside, literally, they are pressure points for different parts of our body. So when we do yoni healing work, whether it is through some tools or with our fingers or through some breath work even, then what we are doing is we are giving an internal massage to our lungs, our kidneys, our heart, our spleen, our pineal, so it's like an internal facial that you give. So it's not only about sex and orgasm and pleasure. It's about a woman's vitality. It's about how alive she feels in her body. It's about how she is able to use that energy to create beautiful things in her life. Not only just children, but new ideas for us businesswomen, new content. How do we stand out? Where do you create from? Where do you source this uniqueness? From here, from your Holy Grail.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love it. Okay.
I can get too carried away, but yeah.
Oh, it's all really, really wonderful. And I think that brings us to towards the end of our time. And I just want to let it all trickle in, because it's so lovely and wonderful and true. Most importantly, true. And you have a beautiful free gift to offer. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so the free gift is called Return to Your Sacred Portal. Sacred Portal, you might have guessed it, it's the yoni. So it's a 7 days of free rituals, 10 minutes of practice taken from Taoist Tantric lineage that can help you to rekindle with your energetics of the yoni and become informed, create an intentional relationship with this part of your body, your femininity, your consciousness, your vitality. So 7 days of free resources to rekindle with your yoni.
Wonderful. Jonita D'Souza, it's been lovely. Thank you again so much for, number one, your own journey and where it has led you and the work that you offer, and for sharing that with us so beautifully today here at the Healing Sexual Trauma Summit.
Thank you so much, Marcy. I truly enjoyed speaking about one of my favorite topics. Where on earth can you just sit, two women from different parts of the world talk about the most taboo things on earth? Why not? And we are doing it. So thank you so much for holding this space. This is a powerful container that you are creating for you, me, the speakers, and the viewers. So thank you so much.
Thank you.